Hey everybody, welcome to the Sana Q&As with Meredith Miller from Inner Integration. I'm going to read a few more questions today. This person says, "Hi, and thank you for your kindness and generosity to reach out to help us who are in bondage to the after effects of narcissistic abuse. My question pertains to self-hate, which manifests through chronic and constant self-criticism. My abuse, sexual and emotional, came from both parents, from childhood up to the 30th year of life. They steadily isolated me from other family members and broke me down to such an extent that I was overcome by panic and agoraphobia. This meant the abuse could continue because even as an adult, I continued to be dependent on them for care. I am mostly free of panic and agoraphobia now, having gone no contact about 2 years ago. However, all my hair is falling out from the ginormous level of stress I experience within as I berate and crucify myself mentally all day, every day, through self-talk about how chronically and objectively inadequate and stupid I am. I do practice a high degree of self-care, example, diet, exercise, relaxation, study, etc. But even during those times, I cannot attenuate my bitter self-crucifixion. My non-religious parents always taught me, if I did not face my inherent god-awful nature, I was like an ostrich living with my head in the sand. I do not want to be like the ostrich with my head in the sand, so my mind is programmed to think that only by bitterly hating on myself constantly, I am facing the reality of who I am. In their theory, that is supposed to be a good thing. However, the problem is, in doing this, I am destroying myself. In sum, despite going no contact, I remain involuntarily in complete bondage to the self-hate by which I've been programmed. Please, could you direct me as to how you would deal with this problem if it threatened you?" So first of all, great job going no contact 2 years ago. It really sounds like you were the scapegoat in that situation with your parents. I'm really, really sorry. It's so sad that you were taught to put yourself down like that. I think you really hit the nail on the head with the self-hatred piece. You're realizing long after going no contact, 2 years after leaving the abusers, not having any more contact, you're still treating yourself as they have taught you to treat yourself. That's the old programming. You recognize that. That's wonderful that you can see that, because that is the beginning of your power, is the awareness aspect. The next step is taking 100% responsibility, which you are realizing you're taking responsibility of the reality of the situation. Now you need to take responsibility of the actions forward. So it's ironic that your parents use this ostrich with the head in the sand. To me, that's a metaphor of denial. And I think it's ironic because when we're growing up in families like that, we're taught to be in denial of the reality. We're taught to be in denial that it's abuse, that it's manipulation, that it's wrong, that it's not okay, that it's all right that our parents are treating us like that just because they're our parents. Like, that to me is the ostrich with the head in the sand. It's just like my mother loves to use the mantra, all families are dysfunctional. Oh, history just loves to repeat itself. And these are things that abusive people can abuse and hijack to justify their abuse. Your parents twisted that around, the ostrich with the head in the sand, trying to convince you that if you're not constantly criticizing, hating on yourself, and berating yourself, that you've got your head in the sand. That's horrible. That's a horrible thing to teach a child. No wonder you have so much self-hatred right now. No wonder your self-talk is constantly criticizing and beating yourself up and putting yourself down. I am so sorry that they taught you to do that to yourself. Maybe that strategy of bitterly hating on themselves works for your parents. Maybe that's the life that they choose and they're aware of what they're doing, and maybe that's what they want. Maybe they don't know any better. But either way, that doesn't have to be your reality anymore. Those are the old programs, the old tapes, the old scripts that are playing over and over again in your mind. So you are exactly right. That is your self-talk that is destroying you right now. It's no longer your parents. You've got them out of your life. It's now your self-talk. And you are aware of that. So that's great. So now it's time for the reality upgrade, right? Self-hatred also requires self-forgiveness. Like, you're angry at yourself for something, probably for enabling the abuse. Even though when you were a kid, it was out of your control. Then later as adults, I think you said you were, how old? You were in your 30th year of life, right? So you were an adult as you were still enabling this. I mean, we all were, right? So of course we're angry at ourselves for enabling the abuse, for accepting it, for buying the excuses, for going along with it, for not standing up, for not speaking our truth, for not creating more boundaries. There's all kinds of things that we're angry at ourselves about. And so that's the self-forgiveness piece, which is important. But the most important work here that you're talking about, and the most important work, I think, that I have learned in the recovery of narcissistic abuse, is the self-talk. That is like the core of the self-care piece moving forward. There's a lot of pieces to the self-care. I think the center pin of that is the self-talk. We have to reprogram the self-talk. It's the biggest piece. Like, your inner dialogue is a constant inventory of your belief systems. If you've been listening to my videos, you've probably heard this, right? It's your subconscious. It's how you hold your reality in place by running these things through your inner dialogue. And right now, your inner dialogue is just putting you down. It's berating you. Sometimes it probably sounds like your parents' voice. Sometimes it probably sounds like your voice. Either way, you're just constantly putting yourself down. Now it's time to upgrade your reality by upgrading the operating system of your self-talk. It's not that different than the operating system on your computer, on your cell phone. Every now and then it comes up with updates. We have to update it to fix the bugs, to fix the things that aren't working. Well, what happened was, when you were raised with narcissists, you grew up in a negativity reality paradigm. Everything was negative, especially yours, so negative. Everything was putting you down. You weren't allowed to have one thing that you were proud of. You weren't allowed to be good at anything. You weren't allowed to celebrate, to have any joy. The only value you got probably was when you were putting yourself down. It sounds like that's what your parents valued. So you learned that. That was your reality. That's what was real to you. And even now, that's the reality that you're still creating, because you're still stuck in those old programs. So you have to upgrade this. So you've probably heard me talk about this technology, and I now have a new exercise coming out soon. It's just going to be a short, I think it's like 25 minutes, and it teaches you how to do this. It's called Reprogramming, Flashbacks, and Self-Talk, because it's very similar. The mechanism for reprogramming the flashbacks that come, which are like these involuntary memories that pop up out of nowhere. And you probably have a lot of these where your parents are just berating you, or you did something and they're yelling at you and putting you down, or whatever that is, like the flashback, the memory. And then the other thing is the self-talk, that's your voice that's putting you down. There's a combination of both of these things that need to be reprogrammed. Both of these things, the flashbacks and the inner dialogue, are holding that reality in place. They're keeping us stuck in the past. So this exercise that I'm putting together, because I keep talking about it so much and I keep mentioning it in a lot of my videos, I'm creating now a whole bunch of these exercises. Some of them are guided visualizations and meditations. Some of them are instructions for exercises that are just going to be easy. It's going to be easily available. You can just download it. Within 25 minutes, you can learn how to do this technology, it is literally like a technology. It's rewriting the programming of your mind. That way it's just there and it's available, and I can just tell people, okay, go here and do this exercise and start practicing it and start doing it on the daily. You need to get in habit of doing it all day long, every day. And at first it's going to seem overwhelming, because there's so much negativity. There's all this put down, all this self-criticism, all this self-hate, all this you can't do it and it's not possible, and all these negative belief systems, right? There's so much at first. But what you'll see is that, and people tell me, like, after the first few days, after the first week, wow, they already noticed the big difference. Wait till you do it for a month and see how big of a difference you notice in your reality paradigm, in how you feel about yourself, in your self-talk, in your inner dialogue, when it's on idle on the daily, because you put this into practice every day. It takes 30 to 60 days to create new habits. That's how long it takes the nervous system to reprogram, to create new neural pathways. That's what we have to teach ourselves, is to shift from that negativity paradigm into the positivity paradigm. We have to upgrade the wiring. We have to upgrade the operating system. So all of this is coming out on Wednesday. You'll be able to download these exercises. I'm going to come back to this video Wednesday and put the little link in it, because I don't have the link just yet. It's almost done. My self-care mastery course is almost done. It's going to help you so much. It also goes into this. And the bonus exercises that come with this are all of these separate exercises and guided visualizations that will be available. It's all included in the self-care mastery course as well, because it is really going to help you up-level your self-care. That is the path forward from all this. Another thing that you want to practice is the forgiveness release. That's also a separate exercise if you want to do that. I teach you how to do that. Those of you who have my Sana series, one of the last weeks, I think it's week 11, is about the forgiveness. We talk about it a little bit in the second episode, but then at the 11th episode, we really come back to that. A big piece of that forgiveness work is with yourself. It doesn't mean that you're reconciling the relationship. It doesn't mean it's okay. It doesn't mean you're ever going to put up with that again. The forgiveness release to me is about releasing the heavy feelings. If you look up forgiveness in the dictionary, it talks about that. It talks about releasing the heavy feelings of anger, bitterness, resentment. A lot of that's toward ourselves. Some of it's towards others, and some of it's towards ourselves. The anger processing exercise, also that's coming out soon. You can also hear that in some of my videos. I've mentioned this. It's really important to process the anger, or it will eat your body alive. It will eat your body alive. Check out Dr. Gabor Mate. He talks about the psychosomatic connection of the body and the mind, how we cannot separate the body and the mind. He's a Canadian physician. He has amazing content out there. And one more thing that I want to mention, you said you were sexually abused by a family member. You might really benefit from ongoing therapy with a local psychologist, someone who accepts your insurance, someone you can go there on a regular basis to really work out those issues. Sexual abuse in childhood could be really devastating, especially when it's a family member. It's so much heavier. There's got to be some major issues there for you to resolve and get through, like a deep amount of shame, a deep amount, that self-hatred. A lot of that could have to do with the sexual abuse as well. So I really, really recommend that you check out your local resources, interview people, call them on the phone, make sure you feel comfortable, make sure you feel like they get you, they get your situation. You ask them if they have experience with this or that or the other that you're going through, and see how they respond and see how your gut feels about that connection. And if you go to one session and you're like, well, I suppose it's not quite the right person, keep looking, keep interviewing until you find the right person. But get yourself some help, get a local ally. All of you who have gone through familial sexual abuse like that in childhood, I think it's really, really important to get some allies, some psychologists and therapists there who can help you on an ongoing basis to move through that. So I know it's hard. I know when you're just plagued with all this self-hate, like I get that. I was there too. I wasn't the scapegoat, and I do think it's probably a lot worse for scapegoats, but I still hated myself. I mean, when I was like 19, 20, 21, 22, then I got really sick at 22. I believe I gave myself lymphoma, cancer of the lymphatic system, because of all the hatred, the self-hatred, the anger that I had internalized versus facing the abuse and processing that anger. I made myself sick. I recognized that. So you got to deal with this. You don't make yourself sick. And, not just because of that, but also so that you can live your life, so that you can be free, so that you can do what you dream of, so that you can follow your heart, so that you can create your passions and your purpose here in this reality and not feel like the only worth you have is if you're sitting in a corner beating yourself up. No, you are worthy. You are worthy, and we need you. We need all of you out there living your purpose, living your life, creating something meaningful in the world, and not living in the victimhood and being stuck and trapped in the past. We have to free ourselves. It's not your fault, but you and only you can set yourself free. I'm sending you a big hug.